Ambassador Quesada, welcome to Europe Now.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Ambassador, can I start by asking you, Spain in 2017, both regionally but also globally, how do you think it's tracking? In your opinion, how is the country faring? I ask that question because I think increasingly Australians are becoming aware that Spain appears to be moving back centre stage in Europe. It's part of a new core of the EU alongside France and Italy and Germany.
Yes, we seem to be center stage, or we seem to be more preoccupied and more center stage now, probably because by comparison with recent times, because we just have passed a very deep and prolonged crisis, starting remotely in 2007 and exploding in 2008. This crisis was economically very destructive for the Spanish economy, but also it was followed by a period and a consequence in politics, whereby 2016 was almost a lost year. We were unable to participate really and deeply in all the conversation in Europe because we had no government. We had been for 1 year without a government. And the position of Spain is that Europe is good for us. We think European Union is good for Europe, and that we want to advance more in Europe. We want more Europe.
So more Europe and a more engaged Europe in the aftermath of Brexit. What challenges do you see arising both for Spain, but crucially for the EU? And in terms of challenges, obviously challenges have come fairly fast and furiously towards Europe. Not, as you mentioned, the global financial crisis, 2015, the migration crisis, political, the unleashing of an insidious form of terrorism across Europe and increasingly globally. Do you think Brexit is simply one further challenge to add to this long list of challenges? Or, as some critics have been suggesting, might Brexit actually be some kind of tipping point for Europe?
Spain, particularly on the first side of the question, Spain from a national point of view is very much in favor of a soft Brexit. And on the other part of the question, Spain is very much in favor of getting along with the job, of continuing building a stronger Europe with solidarity, with global engagement, and that's our position, and that's what we defend in the European Union.
And in terms of those twin goals, the national but the kind of regional perspective, when they're placed side by side, that's not a matter of inconsistency there. I'm wondering about a soft Brexit on the one hand, sitting alongside the let's have more Europe, and how that figures. Because again, obviously Australians are mostly aware of the role of Spain most recently in terms of Brexit because of the emerging discussion around Gibraltar.
Yeah. Well, we had an interest as the Britain from a very human point of view. There are a lot of Europeans, among them Spaniards, living in UK, but there is also a huge number. The biggest number of UK citizens live in Spain. We think it's the best in the interest of both countries and the citizens of both countries, and Europe and UK is to have some kind of negotiation where we protect as much as possible the right of those citizens.
I'd like to stick with this point about challenges just at one moment longer, because in respect of this idea of more Europe and a greater commitment to the European project, of course 2017, many argue, is seeing this unleashing of a series of transformations across the global political landscape. So of course it's not just Brexit. We're seeing a kind of resurgence of populist right-wing movements across Europe, in the United States, with the new administration and let's make America great again. Many critics have been pointing out that what we're actually seeing unfold now in these early decades of the 21st century is this wholesale shift away from forms of multilateralism across to a kind of unilateralism, a wholesale shift away from the kind of global cosmopolitanism, which has been so well advocated by the EU, across to the resurgence of nationalistic government engaging with global political problems. What's your view on that, and what kind of response can the EU effectively make? Because the EU, of course, is really synonymous, isn't it, with cosmopolitan multilateralism?
First, it is clear that the bone of the problem, the causes of the problem are economic, and the perception of the people that they are let down, and that there is a lack of communication with the political class. So to me it's clear that you have to give two kind of answers. One, economic, how to spread wealth and growth, economic growth, better to the people. This is something which Europe and its welfare system has been trying to do, but it also has something to do with language and communication. And the political class, for sure, has to communicate much better with the electorate, with the people. This is something which I'm sure the political class in Europe is taking stock and taking note. And if we want to advance, we will have to correct that, certainly.
Which brings me to the relationship between Australia and Spain. The Australian government, the Turnbull administration, has sought in the aftermath of the resources boom to focus the national project very much now on the theme of innovation, our National Innovation and Science Agenda. NISA is looking at all new forms of innovation, scientific innovation, artistic innovation, economic innovation, industry, and so on and so forth. In terms of our engagement with Spain, both as a trading partner and broader social and political relations, what can you tell us on this theme of innovation? What does Australia most have to gain, both economically, but more directly in terms of engagement with Spain and its peoples?
In the relation with Spain, I would say we in general, we share values and principles, but this was something kind of vague. It is not until, I would say, 9-10 years ago that we started to discover us from an economic point of view, because politically we have no points of contention. We have a good relation, probably characterized by the distance, which makes difficult for personal contacts between the political class. But from the economic point of view, which was a very weak relation, since 9 or 10 years ago, the Spanish companies, probably impelled by our economic crisis, decided that they needed to become more internationalized. They were present in Latin America, Europe, North Africa, but then they discovered a country which was with sustained growth, very secure legally, and in a region which is going to be the center of the world from an economic point of view. So there was a current of attraction which we can see year by year increasing. The number of Spanish companies, some of them global players, are increasing their presence in Australia, and they are satisfied, they are glad to be here, And the impression I get from my interlocutors at the state or federal level is that this presence has been positive for the economy of Australia.
And finally, Ambassador, I'd like to ask you a question about the future and the future of Australian-Spanish relations. In the UK, the Foresight Commission that was established by former Prime Minister Tony Blair is interestingly enough charged with the responsibility of looking out to the year 2075 and assessing social policy with a view of how will policy look going forward. I wonder if I could encourage you to look through your ambassadorial crystal ball and perhaps speculate about both in terms of the work of your embassy and the work that your staff do here in Australia. What would you most like to see develop in the coming 20 or so years between Australia and Spain?
Well, first, I would like very, very much to have a crystal ball. But what I can say, and I don't have, but what I can say is what we will like. And we want a deeper relation with Australia. This is something for the private sector, but we encourage it. But certainly from the political point of view, we are very much committed to do as much as possible to increase the relation with Australia. This is a commitment, and this is in our foreign policy now, black and white.
Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us on Europe Now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.